Tesla-induced pileup involved driver assist tech, government data reveals. Was this the pileup that we talked about in the Underpass?
Yes.
Recently, apparently,
Just a quick update on
Teslas have been having issues with driving the underpasses. I also noticed a separate article, which is slightly less grim, which is about Tesla actually upgrading the resolution of its cameras, which may help in circumstances like this, using 5-megapixel cameras and something. So maybe they're working on it. Maybe I assume they know some of the shortcomings of their current tech. The Tesla Model S that braked sharply, triggering the 8-car crash in San Francisco. This was the viral clip, which we talked about previously on the show. It happened in November. Had the automaker's controversial driver assist software engaged at the time, according to data the federal government released on Tuesday. So it wasn't the driver.
No.
The Tesla Model S slowed to 7 miles per hour on the highway at the time of the crash, according to the data. Publicly released video showed the car moving into the far left lane and braking abruptly. That was the other thing. The signal light was on. So we were curious if that was triggered by the car directly or if there was user input at that point in time. Like there's a lot of questions about not just the fact that it slowed down, but the way in which it slowed down. So here we have the clip back on display, and we see the car. There's a short signal, but then it just stops at that point, and then obviously gets rear-ended, and all the other cars pile up because it is a highway, and there's something you don't do on a highway, which is come to an abrupt stop. Mm-hmm. Whether you're doing it yourself or whether autopilot is doing it. I have to be honest, though, and this is obviously the way the human mind works. You see something like this occur. So it does actually get over to the other lane. It does try to change lanes, hit the brakes, and then that's obviously when the crash happens. The person can't slow down in time. They're coming in here hot. Here's the thing that my mind does. And I don't have all the data. I'm not sitting there in the control room. I'm not sitting there with access to Elon's data. But the thing my mind does is it sits there and says, well, now I have evidence of this one clip. And now I have evidence that the car was on autopilot at the time. And you know what I do? I say to myself, next time I'm on the highway, I don't want to follow that Tesla. So I say to myself, I just don't want to follow that Tesla too closely. Because autopilot's probably engaged. I'm on the highway. And I've seen this thing happen abruptly. Now, it is a particular circumstance with the underpass scenario. But then when we talked about it, I read the comments and other people said, happens to me on the underpass. So I see the underpass and I see the Tesla in front of me. I see the underpass. I see the Tesla in front of me. It's enough to make a guy nervous.
Yeah.
At this point in time, justified or unjustified, statistically speaking.
And then we always hear about phantom braking. You know?
The Tesla's driver told authorities that the vehicle's full self-driving software braked unexpectedly and triggered the pileup on Thanksgiving Day. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration then announced that it was sending a special crash investigation team to examine the incident. Well, they have to. They go, okay, you said that it was in self-driving. That special investigations unit, only looks at about 100 crashes per year. So they like this one. They're like, this is what we're here for, to investigate this. Full self-driving is designed to keep up with traffic, steer in the lane, and abide by traffic signals, but despite Tesla's name for it, requires attentive human. Well, that's the other thing. What is the human level of responsibility to intervene with the autopilot system when it begins to do something unexpected? In this case, it's kind of tough. When you talk about like acceleration unexpectedly, maybe you have some runway in front of you and you have the opportunity to brake. But when the thing brakes unexpectedly, you're already nervous because you're like, does it see something I don't see?
Yeah,
it's
there's
tough
doubt there.
to know to override it. You're like, is there something in the street that I can't possibly see? Anyway, autopilot is amazing, truly amazing technology coming from a person who's using it on a regular basis. But the problem here is consequences in the vehicle tend to be catastrophic. So because of that, everyone's treading very lightly, and it's the reason that this clip has so much interest and many millions of views, because humans are curious about emerging tech and are adjusting their expectations accordingly. We'll see what else comes out of this investigation, but it does appear that self-driving was enabled during that fateful moment.